All in Sports Network. We love sports.
The trade deadline has passed, and the Kansas City Chiefs stand still. It's now their bye week. Josh Simmons is back. What do the Chiefs need to change internally to make them a true playoff team, a true AFC contender, and a true AFC Super Bowl, possibility? So we talk about that here on today's show. We also talk about the trade that was almost made once again here on the Chiefs Report on the Rogue Sports Media Network. Chase Andrews joining you here. I'm happy to be here for your daily listen of your Chiefs news here on the Chiefs Report. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you are listening on Apple Music or Spotify, you make sure you can follow us, hit that download button, and we'd really, really appreciate it. But the Kansas City Chiefs and Brett Veach decided yesterday that there was no need to risk going above and beyond for a Breece Hall or a Bradley Chubb or any sort of trade like that, and decided to say, we're going to stick with our fourth-round pick that we were offering to the New York Jets. The New York Jets said we were going to stand tall on the third-round pick that we are requesting for Breece Hall, and ultimately, neither side came to an agreement. The trade was not made, and the trade deadline had passed. Now the Chiefs sit here where they did not make a move. They did not make a single move, and the team who is 5-4 has a bye week, is getting their first-round pick, Josh Simmons, back, and they're being a little bit strenuous on how much we can believe in this team. And I want to talk about the changes that have to be made for this Chiefs team to legitimately, in my mind, be considered a Super Bowl contender, an AFC championship contender, and kind of everything in that light. But I also want to start today by looking at this Breece Hall trade and looking at what the Chiefs could have done to make this a actual trade. So if you don't know, yesterday the Kansas City Chiefs were looking to trade for Breece Hall. There was a report that came out that the Jets were firm on a third-round pick, saying that's what they needed to trade Hall. The Chiefs and Brett Veach were standing firm, saying we offered them a fourth-round pick and that they were not going to go higher than that for Hall. The interesting part about this is that neither side broke. And whether you want to say it's the Jets' fault because they traded Sauce Gardner, they traded Quentin Williams to the Cowboys, it was time for a fire sale, but the Jets organization, in their mind, believed that this was not a fire sale. This was a strategic realignment of their positioning and trying to make their team better. And so they weren't looking at this as a fire sale. If it was looking as a fire sale, you'd probably expect that Breece Hall would have been traded for a fourth-round pick. That would have been something that they would have considered and done. This is the funny part about this, is there was a trade today that, quote-unquote, from CBS Sports should have happened. That was what they labeled some of these trades as. And Breece Hall plus a sixth-round pick was what could have gone to the Chiefs for a third-round pick. So I ask you the question, and I wonder from Brett Veach's mindset. The trade that we got was fourth round for Breece Hall. That's what was standing firm. If the Jets were willing to try and move Breece Hall after we know he requested a trade once Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner were officially traded. He had originally said that he did not want to be traded, but in his final year of his contract, ended up where the Jets kind of sent off a couple of the guys. We saw some heartbreaking texts from both Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner in a group chat with Breece Hall and how he was very sad to see them go. And then he wanted out. And so my question is, if the Jets were to say, we will give you a sixth-round pick with Breece Hall if you give us a third-round pick, is that something the Chiefs would have accepted? And to tell you the truth, I don't know. I really don't know. And maybe this was a trade that was offered or discussed, and obviously because of it being trade deadline day and the Jets making so many other moves, the Breece Hall move had to have been on the back burner and had to have been one that was like kind of a last-second thing. So if the trade deadline was, say, 2 hours later, would Brett Veach have thought this up? Would the Jets have thought this up and say, you know what, we want to move him. He's not going to be here next year, at least if we don't get a new contract for him, which if he requested a trade, I doubt he'd want to sign back with the Jets when it's very obvious they're going to be in a rebuilding mode. The Chiefs, Brett Veach could have said, hey, we'll give you a third-round pick if you had a sixth-round pick or something like that. And a sixth-round pick is not much, but it's something to add on to that if you're giving up a third-round pick. And if you're asking me and my opinion on this, the way the Chiefs look this season, they feel like they're a running back away and maybe a defensive lineman, but a running back for sure. if you were able to make this trade, I really do think it puts the Chiefs into a different light, even though they are 5-4, even though they do have a tough schedule coming up after this bye. I still look at this team very differently from the way I see them now without Brees Hall and what we're going to talk about in the 4 changes that need to happen versus if I could have seen them with Brees Hall. And I think that those 4 changes would have turned into 3 changes that I think they need to make, because one of them is very obviously about the running backs. And I want to sit here and say, I believe the Chiefs are going to go and make a run in the playoffs. I believe the Chiefs are going to be fine through this tough stretch of the season facing Denver, Indianapolis, and the 2 Texas teams. Like, I feel like they're going to be fine with that. But I don't know if I can, strictly because there was no moves made, strictly because this team, if you're looking at it from a far angle, has some problems for sure. And the coaching on defense has been good but interesting, I think, in a lot of lights. I think that there should have been more placed on the Josh Simmons, him exiting. And I'm not saying the offensive line was bad since he was gone, but it's just hard when you lose a first-round pick for the couple weeks he was gone for family matters. And again, I'm not trying to down on him, because obviously family is very important. I want him to do that. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know about you. I have a job. And if I was gone for 5 weeks, I don't think that would be taken lightly. I don't think they would want to just open me on with open arms. And I know professional athletes are different. It's a very different mindset. And there's things that we can't control. But it's just hard to look at that for 4 weeks if it's family matters and what happened in there. We still don't have the report. So I don't know. And going back to the original point, the trade was not made. And so we look at the Chiefs and we see what their record is at 5-4, third in the AFC West. And I think it's time to think about what bye-week changes are needed for this Kansas City squad, for us as fans, for us as Chiefs Kingdom, to believe in this team to go out there and beat Denver in Mile High. And I think as a fan base, we're very confident. We're very proud of our organization. And I think in a lot of ways, we just expect to win. And I still have that expectation inside of me. And that's where I have to kind of almost look at this game from a lens on each eye. And the right eye is looking into the good path, saying, okay, I see this team has Patrick Mahomes. They've got a great wide receiver core. The running backs are serviceable. Their offensive line is good. Their defense, it's been interesting, but they're very good. They've allowed really not a lot of points this season. I like what they've been doing. And then I look at it from the left eye and I'm saying, yeah, they're the Chiefs. Yeah, they win. Yeah, they have all these people, but they haven't won this year. They've lost in the 1-score games. They've lost to the teams that are playoff caliber. The only team that in my mind is a playoff caliber team that they have beaten is the Lions. And I think there's some people who would say the Lions are a lower caliber playoff team. So what needs to be fixed? And that's where we start with the first change. And it's a very obvious one. It's one that I've talked about in the show. You have to fix this running game and get something going. Your leading rusher having just 329 yards throughout the 9 games is bad. And I understand he's only played in 8, and there's been games where he's had, injuries or that, but it's still hard to look at this team and look at the running back room and believe that this is something that can be manufactured when needed. It's something that can help out the Chiefs when they are down and out in the playoffs or down and out in the season. We saw it this past week against the Buffalo Bills. Mahomes was getting coverage sacked every single play, it felt like. He just could not throw the ball. He would make time because the line is great and the blocking was good, and he was able to get outside the pocket. And then you just have to chuck up a prayer or throw it away or find something on a short route, and hopefully it does something. But is that going to continue? And I understand the Bills secondary is going to be one of the better ones we're going to see. But when that happens, you have to rely on the running game because the Bills weren't blitzing. They knew you had to throw the ball to beat them. And again, this was, of course, a game where you had to throw the ball because you kept getting down. You kept getting in a spot where you were putting yourself in a bad angle. This running game is a tough thing. You have an average of 41.1 yards per game from Isaiah Pacheco, a 32.7 average yards per game from Kareem Hunt, and then your quarterback has an average of 31.7 yards per game. And so I don't know what needs to change because in theory, you are middle of the pack in terms of yards per game and you're rushing. But if you think about the yards per game and you think about, okay, the two running backs atop there have 40 and 30. So we're talking 70 yards rushing per game, and Patrick Mahomes has the other 30. In my mind, you take out Patrick Mahomes, there's other things, and let's say you bring him down to a regular quarterback level, you're talking below 100 yards per game. You're putting yourself in the bottom 10 of the NFL. And I understand that's all hypothetical, but I'm just trying to look at this from a specific running back standard, not from a quarterback as a running back, but a running back standard. And that's where you almost need some advanced analytics to look at. And I'm sure we could find it if we took the time, but you go out there and you see, okay, without the quarterbacks rushing, where do the Chiefs rank? Where do the Chiefs rank in getting those yards on the ground? And what's funny is you look at the specific players and their yards per game, and Kareem Hunt, you can see down here kind of in a lower part. Isaiah Pacheco, more middle of the pack at 41 yards per game. He's on the likes of Alvin Kamara and Chuba Hubbard and running quarterbacks like Justin Fields and Jane Daniels, but it's something to note that you can see this. I mean, Drake May is in this at 30 yards per game ultimately. And so having this as a logistical sign, you would like to have somebody in the upper part up here, like a Breece Hall, who is averaging 72.6 yards per game, which is 20 plus more than what you are getting from Isaiah Pacheco. I understand Pop can pop off at any time. There is a game where he could easily come up and be the hero. But it's tough when you think about the top teams in the AFC and the top teams across the National Football League. What do they have in common? The Bills, James Cook, he's good. The Indianapolis Colts, top of the AFC right now, Jonathan Taylor. Look at J.K. Dobbins and how he's doing in Denver and what they're doing. Travis Etienne from the Jaguars and what they're able to do. I mean, the only comparable team, you look through the top teams in the AFC and you see that Jalen Warren's right there. I mean, it's hard to look at this team. Even Devon Achane, who was on a very bad team, is still up there. And obviously Breece Hall, it's tough to look at the teams who are above you, and I know Amari Hampton's injured, and see that they have a running back who is at the upper echelon. And that Patrick Mahomes can do a lot. He can change a lot. I understand that not all these teams have Patrick Mahomes or any quarterback that is close to Patrick Mahomes or the receiving staff that is close to what the Kansas City Chiefs have. But when you're one-sided on offense, when you're one-dimensional on offense, it creates for a real struggle to actually compete against the upper-tier defenses, which is what, in my opinion, the Buffalo Bills have turned out to be, which I, fully transparent, did not think they were going to be that good of a defense. But Terrell Bernardo's the linebacker. Their defensive line and Bosa's looking great. Their secondary is surprisingly good. I'm intrigued to see how the end of the season works out for some of these teams. And if the theory proves true that if you're a one-dimensional team, it goes hard. And so what is the fix for that? I think ultimately it's Patrick Mahomes has to become a Justin Fields type player, or you need Pacheco, Brashard Smith, or Kareem Hunt to start working at a more prominent level. And that's really the hard part about this, is you need to have one of your running backs come out and step up, or you need Patrick Mahomes to become a fully quarterback, which that risks injury, that risks other things that could change the dynamic of your team and your season as well. So for all the positives this team has, for all the positive this team can do, I still think that it really hinges on the fact of what their running game is like and how that can actually benefit them in the long-term solution. So that's change number one I would make for the Kansas City Chiefs to be able to come back from this bye week and me feel fully confident in them. We've got three more changes I'm going to talk about, but we're going to take a quick break here, get a little word in from our sponsors, and we'll be right back here on the Rogue Sports Media Network.
Shades is your trusted partner in stage lighting, offering a wide range of high-quality, innovative products since 2015. With designs that cater to all needs, fast delivery, and affordable prices, we provide exceptional customer service to ensure your satisfaction. With warehouses across the globe and sales in over 100 countries, Sheds is quickly becoming one of the most recognized names in the stage lighting industry. Visit shehds.com today to discover top-tier stage lighting solutions and become part of our global network.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoalUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Chapellex is a full-category shapewear brand dedicated to providing women with exceptional comfort and support. We offer thoughtfully designed solutions that blend style with functionality, empowering women to feel confident and at ease every day. Chapellex is redefining what it means to have a perfect body. Our mission celebrates body positivity, embracing every shape and size, because true beauty lies in authenticity. Visit shapellx.com today and join a movement towards self-love, acceptance, and confidence.
Indulge in Blum's luxurious Lotus flower rolls. The green Lotus roll bursts with a caramel apple flavor, while the blue Lotus roll offers a smooth berry cream sensation. With our Crush for Flavor technology, enjoy an instant burst of natural, intense flavor anytime you desire. Elevate your experience with the finest creations nature has to offer. Explore the full collection at blumleaf.com. That's BLUUMLEAF.com. Blumleaf. Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. At Terrapin Ridge Farms, they believe in the joy of effortless entertaining. Inspired by CEO Mary O'Donnell's mom and her legendary holiday parties, they've crafted a line of gourmet foods that turn any meal into a celebration. From savory jams to mustards, aiolis, and more, their products are made with love, bringing unforgettable flavors to your table. Whether it's a casual get-together or a special occasion, they make it easy to impress. Terrapin Ridge Farms, where great food and great memories come together. Visit them at terrapinridge.com. Terrapin Ridge.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Welcome back here to the Chiefs Report. Jace Andrews joining you as we are talking about 4 different bye-week changes for the Kansas City Chiefs in order to fully confirm to me that this team is the same Chiefs team we know and love and that they can make a run at the AFC Championship and at that mindset of the Super Bowl as well. We've gone through one change as we've talked about the running game and how that needs to be figured out one way or another, whether it's Patrick Mahomes taking the reins or if it's Pacheco, Rashard Smith, or Kareem Hunt, one of them kind of erupting as this top-tier guy. Obviously, Pacheco's injured, so that's going to be hard for him to do, but we'll have to see and kind of how that goes. But let's talk about some other changes, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And if I look here, there's one specific part that I want them to be a little bit more proven upon, and that's going to be in the sack total. Kansas City has 20 total sacks this season, which is a very good number. Do not get me wrong. They have 10 more than the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is a team that is going to be in the playoffs, it looks like, in a lot of ways. But I still believe this team and their defensive line could improve upon a couple of different things. The first thing is pressuring the quarterback, getting back there and being able to take him down, allow that to be made, and fully embrace this, I want to say, defensive line mindset that we've been looking for. I know that Chris Jones and George Karlaftis are a great duo to have, but with the injury to Omar Norman-Lott, having Mike Dana and Derek Nottie and Obviously, Ashton Giuletti's come in and played pretty well. I still believe you want that edge rusher who can help with Karlaftis. You want that interior defensive lineman that can help with Chris Jones. Like, I don't think there's something that is like everly apparent that they need to change on the defensive line, but the mindset around that defensive line not being good, not being as good as it should be, I think is probably the better thing. And so there's a couple of different changes you can make to this. The first one is the effort level and the ability to get back to the quarterback. Chris Jones can do a lot, and I want to see more effort from him in some aspects. I know we've talked about how he just seems like he lost a step this year, whether it's because of the effort, whether it's because of his age, I don't know, but it just kind of feels that way. And then if you look past that, if you look at the other guys on the defensive line, George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, Derek Nottie, how are they going to help out in this defensive line room? And so I want to say that this is a very easable fix, and of the 4 changes, this is one that I would say is probably something that could immediately help them. And I think a theme that you're going to notice these last 3 changes is something that I'm thinking bigger picture. I'm not thinking what do the Chiefs need to do to make the playoffs. I'm thinking what do the Chiefs need to do to become a Super Bowl contender. And in theory, they're the Chiefs, and you somewhat view them as the Patriots dynasty as, well, they're going to make the playoffs, and that's all they need to do, and they'll get there, and they'll be fine. But I'm just trying to look at a broader picture of what they can do. So I would say a big thing for them would be getting the sack numbers up, just because, again, 20 is very good, don't get me wrong. And if you look at the yards per game, they're upper echelon. I mean, they're right here at the top of the league in terms of allowing yards per game to their opponents. But you add those sacks, you add that ability to the team, man, you're going to be in a really good spot. You're going to be in a really good spot helping that out. So that's, again, why the Chiefs were looking at an edge rusher. It's, again, why the Chiefs were looking at a running back. I mean, you're obviously going to see here in the first 2 changes, I'm looking at changes that they could have made. And then whether it be getting Bradley Chubb or getting Breece Hall, and I know those were big names, but what if they got Jerome Ford? What if they got somebody else on the defensive line that is just a serviceable manner? I mean, it's just a kind of annoying thing to know that they have 2 issues on this team, and it's their defensive line and their running back room. And if they're able to fix just one of those, you feel a lot more confident. But instead, Brett Veach, I'm not going to say he sat on his hands because he tried to make the trade, but he didn't get a deal done. And now you kind of sit back and look at this from a picture of full range, and you're like, okay, we can make the playoffs for sure. We can, but AFC is good and widespread. How does getting to the playoffs work? And so I'm intrigued to see how that exactly works and how that goes about. But one other thing, it's such a small one, and I think this one is something that, again, like I said, the theme of these changes, I don't think there's anything ginormous the Chiefs need to fix other than just playing better. I really don't know. Like, they lose these games, and you almost get baffled how they lose them. But turning over the ball, or rather forcing turnovers, it's something they could do to help them out, because they are in the lower tier of turnovers and forcing turnovers, I should say. Because in terms of their plus minus, they're in a very good spot, because Patrick Mahomes does not turn over the ball. In fact, in terms of giveaways, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've given away 5 times. It's been 5 interceptions. They haven't fumbled the ball, at least fumbled and let it been taken away once. But again, it's you go and you look at these teams in the AFC that are above you right now and their turnover differential. Pittsburgh Steelers, they got 16 turnovers and a +9 ratio. What the Jacksonville Jaguars? They got a +8 ratio and 15 turnovers. The Indianapolis Colts, they got 13 turnovers. They only have a +3 ratio, so you're better than that, but 13 turnovers. Okay, that's something to note for sure. I mean, the Patriots, they got 11 turnovers. I know they've turned the ball over a lot, so they have 0, but it's 11 turnovers. I mean, it's just kind of an interesting thing when you start looking at some of these top-tier teams. And the Buffalo Bills are in that same case as you, where they don't really turn the ball over, but they don't get a lot of turnovers or takeaways as well. So if you're able to force the takeaway, then that changes the dynamic of this team. And Trent McDuffie is a lockdown corner that doesn't get turnovers. He's not a ball hawk. He's a lockdown corner. These linebackers are guys that make the tackles. They're not going to turn the ball over. Like, there's not somebody on this team like, oh, yeah, that's a turnover machine right there. He's going to get takeaways like crazy. Like, Chris Jones can get back there. He can strip the ball for sure. But past that, I really don't know what's a turnover guy on this team. And you don't really need one. Not saying that's like a necessity, but it's something that could really help. And I think it goes back to the coaching. whether it be with the offense and how they're being somewhat frugal at times, and would love to see Matt Nagy kind of break open some trick plays, and that could have really changed the dichotomy of the Bills game, and also the defense. Kind of letting up some of these short things, getting kind of dinked and dunked around until a big play comes, and the secondary is so good for the Chiefs, and the ability for this defense has been in a great spot that you almost don't want to believe that that's going to happen to them, or that's something that should be even a thought in their head. But it's something that can improve this team. Because if you only turn the ball over 5 times and you say you're at 9, let's say you get 3 more, you get to 12, all of a sudden you have one of the best turnover ratios in the entire NFL, because you go from +4 to +7, which if we just go change the differential right here, +7 puts you at the top 4 slots. 3 more turnovers, all it takes. 9 games, you didn't have a bye week throughout, or 9 weeks of football season, you haven't had a bye week yet. Like, I feel like that's not a bad thing to have. So that's something that I do think the Chiefs could take advantage of, and really, I think the bigger thing, it might not be turning the ball over or getting more turnovers, but the fact that you got to take advantage that you don't turn the ball over and keep that the way it is you don't turn the ball over, keep it that way, and then get more takeaways. That's going to severely change your chances at winning games that you may have otherwise lost, because you won the takeaway battle, or you got a takeaway in a key spot. Like, that's such a huge thing. And then the final and the fifth, or rather fourth change, it's a little bit of a depth chart movement to me, because honestly, I think in some ways everybody who starts deserves to start, but there's just something off. And I don't know if there needs to be a switch where we give more snaps to a certain player, we give more time to a certain player. Like, obviously on the defensive line, are we giving too many snaps to Charles Omenihu? I know we like him. I know he has a lot that he can give, but are we giving too much snaps to him? Should we allow for more play from Joshua Williams or Chris Rowland Wallace, who have looked good in the times they've been there? But you love Noah Williams. You love Jalen Watson. Like, the cornerback room is good. Like, it's just kind of weird when you look at this depth chart and when you look at everything and you're like, man, this team should be good. This team should be winning every single game they're playing, but they're not. And so that's where the biggest change of all has to come. It's a mindset, it's a culture, and it may be just a switch of a player on your depth chart. It really might be. And I know that sounds crazy, and saying that one player, especially when you believe that this team is in a very good spot, could change what it does. But what if we gave more snaps to Tyquan Thornton? What if? What if we allowed him to go out there? I mean, when he played, he looked great. What if we allowed for more snaps to Brashard Smith? What if he gets going? He's had in the past, especially as a receiving back. It's all what ifs, and as my mother would love to say, if ifs and buts were fruits and nuts, it would all be a happy life. But it's not ifs and buts here. It's, you got to figure out a way to win these games. And especially when you go and you look at the schedule, as we always like to do, especially now given you're 5-4. After the bye week, it gets tough. Denver, 3rd place in the AFC. Indianapolis, 1st place in the AFC. Dallas, they're the best offense in the NFL. Houston, they play Denver very tough. Los Angeles, a very good team. You already beat them or lost them once. Then you play Tennessee, should be a win, even though it's in Tennessee. Denver once again, you're playing on Christmas. That's going to be a tough game. And then you've got Las Vegas in the season. But I don't want that Las Vegas game to be a game that you have to win, first of all, or a game that is meaning of anything. I would love to at least be in the playoffs at this point and not worry about how you can play for positionment, but just be in that playoff spot. Because the Las Vegas Raiders are very much the worst team in the NFL, but you'd be surprised how much they could win if it was to take the Chiefs out of the playoff picture. It would be a very much different story. So those are the 4 changes that I believe the Chiefs need to make themselves a true competitive team. And like I said, they sometimes don't feel like changes because this team is so good, and the baffling news of them being 5-4 is something that I don't think a lot of Chiefs fans believe, including myself. But what you can look at and what you can believe is that this team is good, and then maybe just slight changes can do something. If you get an extra turnover here and there, I mean, you lose by 1 score in all these games. You get 1 turnover in those games there. What happens? Your running game is a bit better in one of those games. What happens? You're able to get an extra sack in one of those games on a key down. What happens? You're able to get less penalties. I mean, that's something we haven't talked about, is penalties. It's a lot of changes that are so small, but because you're losing by 1 score, it can be so big. And that ultimately is the the season of the Chiefs thus far, just because it's been that way. So I really don't know how to look at that. Like 1-score loss against the Los Angeles Chargers, 1-score loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, 1-score loss against the Jaguars, 1-score loss against Buffalo. I mean, how differently do we look at this team if they just don't blow the game against Jacksonville on Monday night? How differently do we look at this team if Xavier Worthy doesn't get hurt in game 1 and you're able to win that game because he's out there? How differently do we look at this team if you don't lose to Philadelphia by 3 points? Like one of these games, you win one of them, we're looking at this team so differently. 6-3 is a ginormous difference than 5-4. I'd argue it's the biggest difference in football when you get to week 9. So that's what we got for you here today. Tomorrow we'll talk more about kind of what's expected for the bye week, what's expected to be with Josh Simmons, and kind of the latest on the Kansas City Chiefs. So make sure you stick around for that tomorrow. But we appreciate you watching, appreciate you listening. And for now, we'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report. Peace out, guys. Peace out.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.